here today outside the bakery here in Manchester city centre. Now we're here today to interview a lady called Claire Young who's from The Apprentice. So let's get inside where it's a little bit warmer because it's freezing out here. So Claire, it's lovely of you to join us today. Talk to us a little bit about being on The Apprentice and what happened with your career after The Apprentice.
Well, I took part in The Apprentice, which is, for anyone who doesn't know what it is, it's a huge TV show on BBC One, and one of the country's most famous entrepreneurs, Sir Alan as I call him, or Lord Sugar, has a competition with 16 people to win a job, and I reached the final in 2008. So before The Apprentice, I worked in the business world, I worked for somebody, I left The Apprentice, and possibly the biggest change for me was that I decided to start my own business. So since then, I've started a business, I've sold one, I've started 2 more businesses, which I currently have now, and everything I do is working with young people. So I don't think there's many of us around out there being young business women. I think for the majority of meetings which I go into, I stand out a lot because I think people do have a perception that to be in business you have to be a bit like Lord Sugar, a man in a suit from a certain background, driving a fancy car, and I think at the age of 32 and being a northerner and being a woman, I sort of stand out, which is great because people remember you.
What would you say to inspire young people now that are wanting to start businesses, or young teenagers? What would you say to them?
I think for any young person, probably the biggest thing is attitude. When I'm talking to young people about starting a business, the first thing they say they need is money, and that is completely wrong. You need a good idea, and an idea comes from your brain. So we've all got a brain. We all just have to sometimes learn how to switch it on, and it costs you nothing, but you need the right attitude because business can be really tough, and if you have knockbacks and you are rejected, you've got to pick yourself up quickly because you never know when that phone call's going to come or that email's going to come, or you're going to meet somebody maybe like in a coffee shop where we are today, and you've got to be able to grab that opportunity. I think the British people, we need to be a bit more like the Americans because they really believe in themselves. You meet an American young person, they think that they can achieve anything, they can take on the world, and I think if every young person in the UK believed in themselves, imagine how much further on we would be. So believe in yourself and just go for it. Don't be, lots of people talk, 99% of people talk about things and 1% of people do, so be a bit like Nike, just do it, JDI.
Lots of teenagers, obviously, they might not have the family support behind them. Where would you actually direct them to, to get that support to be able to achieve their dreams?
I think it's really difficult when your family don't support you, and I do work with a lot of students where in school there's lots of support, or they go to after school clubs, or they find enterprise clubs. There's often places like that, but you have to go. A good thing about being an entrepreneur is that you learn to ask for help. Lots of people think you do it all yourself, but you learn to utilise other people, and you can't be good at everything, so ask people for help. And I got told off in The Apprentice a lot for not listening. I was thrown out of the boardroom by Alan Sugar and told to shut up. So I've learned to ask for help, I've learned to listen, and you've got to set your own benchmark. That's something what I've done. Lots of my friends don't work, they're married to people, they don't want a career, and they think, but what I do for a living is crazy. For them it's right, and for me I'd be really bored as a housewife. So you've got to set your own benchmark, and almost don't listen to negative people. There's always going to be somebody out there who's willing to say you can't do it, or it's never going to happen, or who do you think you are, if you think you're above yourself. Just zone them out and focus on what you're doing and you'll get there.
So final comment, what would you want to say to our young viewers?
I think if anyone's watching this and they've got that niggling doubt in their head thinking they've got a really good idea, don't just sit on it, because there's no point having ideas if they're in your head. Do something about it. So log on to the website, get help where you can, log on to Team Biz and see if you apply for funding, because things never fall into your lap. You've got to go out there and make it happen.